Three, two, one, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force podcast, a podcast from Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. These are our Batch Fridays, where we talk about every episode of the Bad Batch Season 2, today focusing on Episode 9, The Crossing. Now, before we get into that, we'd like to remind you to like, subscribe, and follow our little podcast here. And our amazing guest for today, our friend Andrés Álvarez from Sithty Minutes. Welcome back to the podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much. So thrilled to be back.
It's always
so
great
nice to have you back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, I should have said this before we started recording, but can you move your camera a little bit so that we don't decapitate you once we put the
Up or down?
The names.
up? No, down.
Other
down.
way.
Oh, okay.
There we go. There we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
See, people, for everyone listening, sometimes we don't have our stuff together, but we got it. But we got it now.
We adapt. We figure it out as we go along.
Modern problems require modern solutions, even though that's, I don't know what was modern about that solution, but
But we're
how's
fine.
it going?
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all good. Well, anyway, the Bad Batch, Andres. This is the first time we've had you come over to talk about season 2. So we want to know, what have you thought about it so far, and what did you think about season 1 to begin with?
Yeah, I so far I think season 2 has been really good because it's getting us to think deeper about what it means to be not Empire, not Republic, not Rebel in this era in the galaxy. I thought season 1 was also like pretty solid. I think it was kind of like it took too long to, in my opinion, to like get kind of where it was going. Because it just spent so much time being like, here's how this part of the galaxy is responding to post Order 66 galaxy, and it just kind of rinse and repeated that for a bunch of cycles. So, but that's more of like for us who have eat, sleep, and breathe the galaxy. It's like we kind of already know where everything's going.
Right.
But yeah, season 2 is like, it's being more internal, and that's for me where the Bad Batch shines, because it really is by definition a group of folks who were ready to die for the Republic, and now the Republic's gone, and like they have to figure out what that means for their core programming.
Yeah. And I think it's been a really good study in character development. And especially this episode, The Crossing, I thought was really good. It was an episode I wasn't expecting to like, because I think this season has been a little bit of a roller coaster. I'm like really impressed by one episode, and then the next one's like, it's good, but not as good. But I've been surprised, because let's suppose the tribe was really good, and then we got that amazing like mini arc right after. So that was surprised. And after that high, I thought this episode, I wasn't going to like it so much, especially when it started. It was a little bit of the formula again of a Sid mission, but I ended up really liking it, because it ended up being, well, gorgeous, to say the least. But it was a really, really good character study, and I'm really enjoying what they're doing, especially with tech in some of these episodes, and especially this one. So what did you think about The Crossing, Andres? Oh, and then we can go to you, Gus, if you want to.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I don't want to overstep here. I will say que I agree with you, Nani. I thought that this episode was going to be considerably different, because like the experiences that we've seen from Bad Batch is that when you have a super dark and epic episode, then the next one is kind of like that self-contained type of, more fun adventure of the week type of thing. So that's what I thought we were gonna get. I wasn't, expecting to kind of have a thematic sequel of sorts, right, to the previous duology that we got. But it was deep, man. It was still dark. I mean, there was still a lot of fun and adventure, and it was still like a Sid mission, but we cut away from the go into the bar,
the formula a little bit,
Sid give you the mission, and then go back, and it was good, and like you said, it was stunning to look at. It was beautiful episode. Like I think we say that in every episode. How amazing the animation! Yeah.
They do. We have to keep saying it, because they deserve the credit, and because it is beautiful to watch. But anyway, what did you think, Andres?
I definitely agree. I actually made a note when the episode first opened up. I was like, oh yeah, I'll make some notes on the side. And literally I had to pause from the first shot because I was like, this the note I made was that they can animate just the heck out of backgrounds.
Oh yeah.
That
Mhm.
like
Mhm,
if
mhm.
The
you
intro.
yeah, if you took a still of that like mountain range and stuff or the valleys and everything, I was like, you could convince someone that that is a flyover shot from someplace in Utah or like
Mhm,
someplace near
mhm,
the Grand
mhm.
Canyon. And folks, like, you could pretty much believe that. It's not until like the Marauder comes in and the camera's like interacting with the background that you're like, oh, okay, it's animated,
Okay.
but it just
Mhm, mhm.
it looks like a painting or a photograph. You
Mhm,
wouldn't know the
mhm, mhm.
difference.
Yeah.
Development wise, I agree. Like because the last two episodes they were the back to back
Yeah.
released at the same time. So I remember getting to the end of the crossing and thinking like, oh, we're back to you got
Mini
to sit
arcs.
it out. Yeah, like
Yes.
they're not just immediately going home. So like it wasn't that like you were mentioning
Mhm.
Goose, like that adventure of the week. It was something that we're gonna have to sit and simmer with and figure out like
Yeah.
how are they gonna get out of it. And Sid, like at the end of the episode, I thought for sure once they were able to get a hold of her, I was like, oh, this is how it's gonna end. Like someone's
Yeah.
gonna show up and they're gonna be like, let's go back to Ord
Mhm, mhm.
Mantell.
Right.
Mhm.
And you know, it builds up that tension from the previous episodes because she's like, it's gonna take some days. Like they have to kind of twist her arm to even
Yep.
get her
Mhm.
to call her
Mhm.
contacts.
Yeah. All
And
that attitude about, oh, I didn't tell you to get your ship robbed. So, it's on you, deal with it. And they have to call out all the times that they've helped her out selflessly
yeah.
to actually get her to do something. And it's not an immediate rescue anyway on this planet that
Mhm,
is
mhm, mhm.
clearly out to get them because
Mhm,
this
mhm,
planet
mhm,
clearly
mhm.
just hates the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
But I think that was a really good thing that like that development with Sid because it's
Yeah.
kind of what we discussed about in the riot racing episode,
Mhm.
like how we kind of see the seeds of discord that might happen with Sid further down in the season, how she might potentially betray the batch. So we're kind of I appreciate that they sprinkled that in there because like, okay, we're setting up the pieces. Like with this the last episodes and this one, it kind of feels like we're setting the chessboard for like
Yeah.
for getting all the pieces to move. That was for anyone that was listening. That was kind of a Return of the King reference. So if you know,
Pat
you know.
yourself on the back.
If you know, you know. I was kind of
Mhm.
proud of myself, even though
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure.
Is Rex the beacon of Gondor? Is
Is
that
Rex the beacon of Gondor? No, I think in this one Omega would be. So
Hmm?
she would be the Hobbit proxy to an extent, not because of her stature. I just think because of the naivete. I think she would be the one to like
Her love of second breakfast just
her love of
really
second breakfast or Mantel
That's
mix,
all.
Mantel mix.
Yeah, Martel mix. That's right. That is correct. But yeah, I thought it was really good also that they didn't just kind of gloss over that Echo is gone. I feel like I felt like Omega the whole episode, just like super sad that Echo is gone. I'm really missing him. But I think it is important to see that emotional impact and for not have him return immediately. Because when they start kind of like asking to see if they can contact him, I was like,
Mhm.
he just left. You need to let that sit first, what it means to them. You can't just bring him back. And for a second, I thought that they would, and I'm really happy that they didn't. So I hope it isn't Echo who comes next episode to save them. I feel like they need to find their footing and digest what's happening because it's the second member that they've kind of lost. And I don't know if you've been listening to our episodes, Andres, but we started a Deadpool, thinking that one of the characters is going to die. And the problem with that now is that every time that there's danger, so we had like that Lion King situation with the
Mhm,
stampede,
yes.
and then we had, uh, Tech falling down, like not hesitating
Long
to
live the
rescue
king. Mhm.
Omega. And the whole time I'm thinking, oh no, not my sweet boy Wrecker. Oh no, not Tech, who's getting all these amazing like character development. You're gonna kill him off. So I feel like anxious now every time I watch one of these episodes.
Especially since we have that Deadpool going, so it's just like, oh, is it happening this early? No, it's
Oh
not.
No.
no.
Especially not with the record. Our boy's not going anywhere. Get rid of Hunter, but not Wrecker.
Hunter. Yeah.
I
Hunter's
appreciate
got
how
to
bold
go.
y'all are being. in a series that loves breaking people's hearts with like someone's
are
gonna
horrible.
die eventually.
We got
are-
the inside scoop from some friends that have been able. Well, no spoilers, obviously. We don't have any spoilers, but we were given a warning that hearts will be broken.
Okay.
So like that,
you know,
as you will.
if I'm gonna put money on anything, I'm gonna feed into like the Echo. I'd put money down on Echo being the sacrificial.
that-
No, it's not fair,
Ugh.
man. Like he's had a rough. He's had it rough. He deserves
all the
deserves
torture and everything he
Yeah.
went through. Oh,
And I mean,
Ugh.
come on now, because then he could have one last moment to shine, and be like, he did it. He finally saved everyone. Look at Echo go from
I
tortured
know.
clone to hero of the
dead
day,
clone,
and then
right?
yeah, and then just Rise of Skywalker him of like, oh, just sorry.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not
Thank you
wrong.
for saving the galaxy. Goodbye now.
You're not
yeah,
wrong.
now you get
Stage
to
left.
die.
My only
Star Wars loves killing the heroes after they get redeemed.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yep.
Like, come on, Star. Let one person have a happy ending. At least one. It could be my home skillet Echo.
And Crosshair keeps failing up, so I'm like, I don't think they'll kill him because he's
No, I don't think so.
There's been plenty of opportunities for him to just get wrecked, and
Yeah.
he keeps getting promoted. So,
and he really is too interesting of a character. I'd be really upset if they just offed him without getting like that full arc of what's happening with Crosshair.
What if they Rogue One this? Everyone's gone.
No.
Except Omega, obviously. Come on, you don't kill children.
That got really gloomy.
That's Book of Boba Fett season 2 right there. You can't do that.
Exactly. When is Tamora gonna meet Tamora? Like, is they gonna do the like that very bad Michelle Rodriguez film?
I would say
time.
Tamora meets Tamara, but your point taken.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen. So now that we're having all these live action crossovers with animation and whatnot, maybe we'll see.
It can happen. I guess speaking of like crossovers and then a little bit of like merch, like I was really bummed that they lost the Marauder this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And in the back of my mind, I was like, the same thing happened with the Razor Crest. Lego released a Razor Crest after season 1, and everyone was like, yes, get Mando ship. It's a wrap, like we're fine. Season 2 comes out, and Moff Gideon on a whim is just like, nuke it. And it's like, poor Bad Batch fans. Like, if you bought that Lego set, you just watched your $200 purchase get jacked.
Well, it's getting back. They could get it back. I think
they will get it. That's because that's one of the things that I thought was like really surprising about this episode was that they kind of left it as a two-parter, right? It's just like there's literally I was expecting to see the to be continued like at the end of the episode. So obviously that was the setup, right? Because we don't see who it was. Because I think that would be not the best of writing, right, for that team to be just like, let's animate this random person and just take the ship and then we'll never mention it again. I think there's something there.
Well, there's definitely something sketchy going on because the outpost was abandoned and
exactly.
There's stuff going down.
Like at first I thought this is obviously not gonna be the case, but at first I'm like, what if it's Boba Fett? Well, Boba Fett is like, oh, screw it, I'm taking that. But it's just like, no, not everything has to be incestuous.
Well, also at this point, Boba would be like knee deep in working for the Empire, or at least starting that journey because it's post Clone Wars and like early Empire days. So he's probably making a name for himself in the galaxy, but would already have, I guess, his dad's old ship. He just repainted it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure he didn't stumble across another fire spray.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Just to annoy any people that are watching, fire spray. They changed the name. They didn't. They didn't grow up. But we'll see how that plays out. Because, like I said, like it would just be so unsatisfying to like not, because I'm not saying they're not gonna destroy the ship. Maybe they will, but it has to fulfill a narrative purpose, I guess, because right now obviously the ship is a metaphor for family and home and a place of belonging, and like that's what Omega just lost by losing Echo, and now she's like, like crap, like everything's fickle in this life, right? Like everything can just disappear, and your family can disappear and your home can disappear like in the blink of an eye. It's like how do you deal with all that trauma? So there has it has to come full circle, right? There has to be that healing, for this journey that she's going on. And I think the ship, even though it might be destroyed, it needs to play back into that in a way that like she can realize that home is not a physical space. And I'm gonna be very cheesy here, but home is where the heart is. So we have to complete that little narrative arc there with a nice little bow. And maybe when the Marauder does explode, it's gonna be like in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and it's just fireworks, and it's gonna be beautiful, and we're all gonna be crying when it happens.
It's true.
It's been a week, guys. It's been a week. Okay?
It's been intense, but I don't know. It was a really good episode because I feel like I was starting to get frustrated with Omega a little bit also because they would do the whole like her going on her own and getting into trouble, and then everybody gets dragged into the trouble. But this time it was a little bit different because it was kind of more of an emotional growth moment, and for Tech as well, because he can't really understand because he processes emotions differently. But I love that conversation that they had and that immediate trust that she was so surprised by. You trust me to do this? I know you're capable of doing it, because he can't lie. He only says truths, and she believed that immediately. And I wasn't expecting her to fall. I was really expecting him to catch her in that moment, and then no hesitation jumps right after her. And then that conversation that they had, and what I'm calling the Fern Gully cave. It was so good when he explains it to her that way, that he, just because he processes emotions differently and expresses them differently doesn't mean he doesn't feel them as intensely as other people do. And that speaks to a lot of people who don't necessarily express themselves the way that is expected or process emotions the way that it's expected, but that doesn't take away from the fact that you still feel. And through good communication, then you can understand each other. And when he's trying to rationalize everything, like, but we're soldiers, this is how we're supposed to act. And she's like, but aren't we a family? And he admitted immediately. And she said, well, like, act like it. And in my mind, I was like, he jumped right after you. That's what family does. He doesn't need to necessarily say it. He acted it. But it is sometimes good to understand, because you don't understand people who don't react to things the same way as you do. So that's why the conversation was important.
I agree and I disagree, because I do think that people show affection and love and in many different ways, but sometimes everyone's caught up with The Last of Us, right? We all saw episode 3.
No, I haven't watched The Last of Us. No.
All right.
I'm not emotionally prepared for The Last of Us right now. There's too much going on. I need to put that on pause.
Then I'll try to. I'm gonna make the point anyway. I'm gonna. It's gonna be the same point. So it's about love, obviously, and it's how you love someone. Also, it can't be one-sided. You can't just give your love to them like selfishly in how you want it. You kind of also have to love the person on their terms too, because love is a two-way street. And I think that was the important thing of that conversation between Omega and Tech. It wasn't necessarily Omega telling him that he has to change and be different. It's telling him that, like, I mean, sometimes you need to, like, I receive love or affection like in this way, and like I don't, it's a give and take. And that's fine. I think that's relationship, like you said, now it's communication and whatnot. And I think it was kind of a beautiful moment in that sense, because he also then understands him, that he's not just cold and calculating. It's like, it's like in Star Trek, Spock. I don't know if it's always been, or if it's only a Kelvin timeline type of thing. Sorry, Star Trek nerds. But when they're talking about the Vulcans and how they repress their emotions, and they're like, we repress them because we are so emotional, and then because we feel so much, and everyone just thinks that they're cold and cold and detached and analytical because they feel nothing. But it's the opposite. It's like they feel so much that they have to kind of
rein it in
themselves.
A little
bit. And in a sense, I think that's kind of how Tech is, but jumping in after her kind of shows that he does have that mushy heart.
No hesitation. Yeah.
So, and like,
I don't know.
I think the other thing for like viewers to keep in mind is, like, Omega is going through the process that presumably Echo already went through after the end of Clone Wars season 7 or whatever, right? So like, this is their first new addition into the group since like the Clone Wars and Echo joining the group. So like, you know, Omega's also kind of learning a little bit of, because in Bad Batch, like there was this, you know, they didn't think that they were gonna like hold on to Omega for so long, or you know, they were trying to figure out some other way. And like now that she's fully a part of the crew, like that's what I appreciated about the episode of like, okay, this is her kind of learning how this group operates, because like of course the Bad Batch isn't bothered by Echo leaving, because like they didn't have Echo for most of the Clone War.
Right.
Yeah.
They had him for a moment, and like things happened, and he decided to go back with Rex, who like the Bad Batch can again understand, because they also fought in the Clone Wars, and they're like, oh, you want to go back to your old commander because he has a mission for you and you're aligning with it, like makes sense. So Omega is that first opportunity in a very long time that the Bad Batch has to like kind of be vulnerable and like operate and show Omega like, this is how we work, this is how we do things. And yeah, it's different than maybe what she expects. Like, she grew up on Camino, everyone knew her, it was the same Kaminoans her whole life, like no one left Camino as far as we know, besides the ones who got into politics and like the ones that show up for plot reasons. But
plot
you know, yeah, they're like, oh, a Kaminoan, of course they're here. But you know, other than that, it's like her concept of family is literally has always been Topoka City and everyone who lives there all the time and has no reason to leave.
But it's interesting too, because the Bad Batch were obviously like a family with each other before this, but they were completely different in terms of like how they operate as a family, because they operate as soldiers, because that was kind of their upbringing. So like how they empathize or have those relationships, or kind of their foundation is completely different in terms of those relationships. So I think that now, like with Omega, it's like bringing like a more sensitive side in terms of like how we express how we connect as family. And it's just like we can show each other affection, we can tell each other we love each other, you know, and that doesn't make you less of a soldier or less of a person or less of a unit. It's just a, you know, different layer to the onion, right? Of like how we relate to each other. And I think that's kind of the discoveries that both sides are making. Just Omega has can understand that just because they don't show it the way that she wants it doesn't mean that it's not there. But they also are learning that, hey, maybe I can loosen up a bit and like stop pretending that we're soldiers in a war, and be like, no, we're a family and we're raising a daughter, even though she's kind of technically older than them.
But you can tell that they are also feeling Echo's absence, because at the beginning it's like, oh, we're one man short, and then immediately things started to go wrong because they didn't have Echo. So they did get used to Echo. They're just more accepting of the fact that if the mission changes and somebody needs to go on a mission that they prioritize, so they accept it more easily. But it doesn't mean they're not feeling the absence of Echo as well, because they had formed a family unit. So I don't know, I thought it was really good. It made me feel things.
It made me feel things. It made me feel things in this old, cold heart of mine. It's I don't know. It was interesting, because I thought we were gonna stop with the character development for the rest of the Bad Batch, because I was like, oh crap, now we're going into overdrive with like the plot. So no time for character development. But to like have like especially with my boy Tech, I'm glad that Hunter's taking like the back seat with a lot of these like character moments. But to have like Tech now shine again was really, really satisfying, because as much as like Tech's episode for the Riot Racing, I was gonna say Race Riot, that's completely different. It was the
Fast and the Furious. Bad Batch edition.
It was a bad, it was a bad. Anyway, whatever. We're not gonna get into that.
I love that meme.
That's a separate episode.
I love that Tech meme. Like,
I know.
Family. Give me a bucket of Coronas. That was a terrible Vin Diesel. I'm sorry. But here I think it was more poignant, because in that episode, like he kind of learned to not be a robot, but in this one, he's learning to kind of be a person. You know, it was like a very emotional beat to have that. And it's also say it like, how cool did Omega look with the wet hair? That was a cool hairstyle. She should consider getting some wet look wax or something to keep that going.
Yeah, I also want to take some time to talk about the mineral that they were mining. Because it's called Ipsium, and like that made me giggle a little bit. I was like, that's so Star Wars, because it reminds me of the first two words whenever you do a template in any kind of word
Ipsum
processing.
lorem,
Yeah, Ipsum lorem or lorem ipsum. So I was like, oh, of course, like they just took the second word in that or the first one.
They're like,
just
we don't
added an
know,
extra,
just do that.
yeah, they just add an extra I in there, and it's like, oh, it's Ipsium. It's whatever we want.
It's whatever we want, exactly. Although it's now like the third different fuel source that's that like has exploded. We had coaxium.
Yeah.
We have the one from Mandalorian. Now we have this. Okay, pump the brakes a little bit here.
But like it made me think of like all of season 2 so far. There's kind of two things that tie it together, and it's like things of value, and then the questions around what is valuable. Because like I'm looking at the episode release schedule, and like the first two episodes all came out together as well.
Yep.
And it revolved around Count Dooku's treasure. It was another Sid mission, and like did all that,
which they failed to get.
Yeah,
but that's the point. They failed at every single Sid mission this I was gonna say this semester, this season.
Yeah, but it's like the whole season is tied around like things of value, and like how far are you willing to go. And in the Count Dooku, in the premiere, like Omega was the one who had to learn to let go, right? Like it's not worth chasing after the treasure. And now, even as they're going through the crossing, like they're chasing a mine that Sid bought. Sid essentially got bamboozled because there was hardly any Ipsium left. And then after they get stuck, because they're taking care of themselves and like prioritizing their safety, they end up finding more valuable Ipsium. Which now puts them in a position that if and when they get themselves off that planet, like they'll make more money from Sid's job, or like maybe there's a conversation about like, I do wonder if they're going to give her all the Ipsium. Like they filled the satchel of those vials,
higher quality stuff. And it's the first time, if they actually get rescued with the Ipsium, I think it's the first time they succeed, because they failed at the treasure hunt. I mean, they accidentally ignited that super robot, but they failed because they didn't get it. And pretty much everything else. Yeah, they failed all the Sid missions. So when it started and it got blown up, I was like, oh, again, are they ever how are they actually surviving? Because they're failing all these missions. They're losing more money in fuel to get back and forth with nothing, to sell when they get back. So,
but I think that's the point. I mean, financial considerations aside, I think that's the important point of like them not keeping any of these treasures or completing the jobs, because they're going after things that like don't matter, and like they're not understanding
like,
that, and they're going on missions. Exactly. So like at this point, it's like they're supposed to fail because they're not doing the right thing. Because when they do the right thing,
they succeed. Yeah,
they succeed. So like
home. Yeah.
So right now, like their families are going through like there's like a family crisis, and like that's why they lost a marauder. Like they're going through some internal struggles that like they have to heal with themselves, and until they don't do that, they can't get their home back, and they can't get their treasures back. So, or well, treasures, whatever, or product or fuel or whatever you want to call it. But they need to heal first before like they get all of that and find meaning and purpose. And right now they haven't found either of those things. I think. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We need Mo here to like throw some philosophy bombs. I'm doing my best to keep the Mo vibe here.
I just think because like 2 episodes from now, the episode's titled Metamorphosis. So like I think it's we're getting closer to that point of like Rex has pointed out like they lost Crosshair because Crosshair believes the future is the Empire. They lost Echo because Echo believes whatever Rex is doing is the future for like the clones. And like now the Bad Batch is in this spot, or I think they're getting closer to that spot of realizing like we're not bounty hunters, we're not we're not like Indiana Jones types that are going to do whatever it takes to steal whatever to make X amount of money or like keep moving on. They keep finding themselves tied to things that are bigger than themselves, and like their skill set goes a long way there. Like, you know, like Sid, they have to prove to Sid that they're worth keeping around as an elite force.
Yeah.
You don't have to prove to the rebellion that you're worth keeping around. Like they will gladly feed the Bad Batch and like give them fuel. Like the Marauder's fine. Like they'll you know, assign someone to watch it all day long if that makes them feel better.
Right.
Because they understand the value inherent of like having these troops, they're going to make the right call. And if they succeed in the mission, like it will also pay off dividends because they are that good. But you know, right now they're stuck with Sid, who's like, if you don't get me the goods, I don't care that you all come back every single week.
This is all about the money.
It's all about the Benjamins.
But I think we are going to get more involvement, especially now that the clones have been officially decommissioned, and now that we've kind of lost Echo to the, you know, with Rex trying to save whatever clones are trying to, you know, find a better life. And it kind of mirrors a little bit, you know, the path that we saw in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. So I think it's a lot of these like underground railroad kind of situations that are happening. And I think the Bad Batch are eventually gonna realize that they need to be involved, that just running around and surviving is not enough. That's not a purpose. That's just surviving. And it's not the same as living.
Agree. It's like the whole that type of thing always reminds me of the Jyn Erso quote from Rogue One, when I forgot who says it to her. Oh, it's Saw Gerrera, when he's just like, oh, you'd be okay with seeing the Imperial flags fly, and she's just like, it's not a problem if you don't look up. And it's just like, that's kind of what, to an extent, the Batch is doing, right? They're trying to keep their head down. But that's the problem. Like, you can run from fascism and oppression all you want, but eventually that boot is gonna be on your neck, and you know that's where you can't ignore it, because it won't ignore you. It will always come for you.
And you have to be like Brasso.
And you have to be like Brasso. Get that brick, brick, and buy that shirt on TeePublic. Throw bricks at your local fascist. Buy it. Help me out. It's just I only get $2 out of it. But hey, come on.
It's a cool design.
Help the channel. Help the channel. We don't have a Patreon.
That's a PBR.
That's a PBR, man.
That's a PBR during
that's a
happy
PBR.
hour. Like, let's
not a tall boy, but at least a regular. But you know,
enough to keep going.
That gets the job done. Yeah. and if you go to like a really nice dingy Chicago bar, you can get a what we call a Chicago handshake. And for those who don't know what a Chicago handshake is, it's a can of PBR and a shot of Malort. And for those uninitiated in the ways of Malort, it is the most disgusting shot you can ever have, but it's absolutely delicious. And so whenever you guys visit
Chicago,
exactly. So whenever you guys visit, we will do a Chicago handshake, and it's on me. Don't worry about it. Right. But I
do love that sticker. I will say I have it on my laptop, and
awesome.
Oh, the brick. I was just like, hey, you got a Malort sticker? The brick one.
Which, you know, interesting. I work a little bit in local politics, so like every now and then when I'm like, oh, let me get my laptop out, I hesitate for like just a moment, and I'm like, will this person be offended? But I don't know. Do I care? Well, they're gonna see it, and like I just like take out my laptop. I'm like, all right, keep
the only people. It's weird because if someone gets offended by that, are they kind of outing themselves? It's like, well, maybe I am kind of a pro-fascist asshole, but whatever. I mean, I would say
tell them to comply. Just comply with the nice ISB.
Just lick those boots. But I would say it's not, it's not relevant, but it is, because Star Wars, friends, family, children, everyone that's listening, despite what some elements in the fandom would say, it is political. So it is. It is
not shocking news.
It's for some people, it's I'm surprised that for some
it still
people
is.
Even though,
I know.
It's just, I would say what Sean Connery told Indiana Jones in Last Crusade: let it go. You lost that battle. Take the L. Just let it go. Yeah, they're just holding on to like this fake narrative.
And what were you gonna say, Andres?
I mean, like, even with this episode, like it pushes, the whole crux of the episode is like, what is family, and how do these different, what's an acceptable way to like engage as a family unit. And like the Bad Batch is a very like strange like family unit as far as like traditional families are concerned, right?
Yes.
That like
Mhm.
it was 5 men raising one daughter, and like now it's
Mhm.
down to 3. But like she's still an equal. Like they treat her literally on the same bar as like Wrecker, as Tech, as Hunter. Like, you know, her opinions are equally valuable. Even the way that her and Tech start like bridging the divide that they had at
Yeah.
the beginning of the episode is like her literally mining the better Ipsium,
Yeah.
and Tech just being like, okay, yeah, I'll get your satchel, and like,
Yeah. I trust you to do it. Mhm.
uh-huh, you're
I
more than
believe in you.
capable. So
Mhm.
like it is this very, you know, it's weird because that's like a minor thing for us, and like how we, you know, I don't think none of us have kids, right? That we know
No.
of. Let me put the other extra asterisk. But
Well, I know for sure.
God, I hope not. God,
That's
I
right.
hope not.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, am I gonna
Yeah,
have
the
nightmares
spirit of the
tonight?
Force. Nani pulled a Shmi, and there's a young Anakin somewhere out there. She's blacked out for 9 months.
Oh God.
It's like, no, please. No.
But you know, it's like at least like when, you know, like when my partner and I are talking about like upbringing and raising a potential family, it's like for us that's kind of a no-brainer, right? Of like, okay, once you're like tall enough to do dishes, we're gonna teach you how to do dishes, and like you're capable of doing it, and you're gonna become a member of this unit, and we work as a unit.
You gotta pull your weight in this house.
That's right. I was like, maybe that's very Latino, but you know, for other people, that's such a wild concept of like, what do you mean you put full faith in this like child? And it's like they might be a child, but like they do know some things, and for the things that are important to them, like it may make sense to ask their opinion. And like the Bad Batch does that automatically. Like that is their MO.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's nice. It's
It's
nice.
nice.
To see.
It is nice to see.
It's
It
nice.
is nice to see.
It's nice. Yeah,
And, like,
I appreciate exactly
other
that. We can
series
have a
don't
dark
like that.
episode, but it's a little some lighter, you know, some lighter, fun stuff.
I mean, like for Mando, you know, not to get into other shows, but like that was a lesson Mando had to learn, right? Like he thought he thought Grogu was just literally like something to put in a satchel and like just shove into a Jedi's hands.
Literally.
And and it takes him a while, but like in another show, he realizes that Grogu is like,
wait, what?
A person.
In another show.
What do you mean another show? But yeah, it's like he has to learn that lesson, and like the Bad Batch is ahead of him in that sense of like how they move and operate. Yeah, you know, like if you're gonna give a child a blaster, or in Grogu's case a lightsaber, like you got to treat him like a full adult at that point.
You gotta trust that children can understand and can be given responsibilities, and you don't have to infantilize them, right? And I think that's the
someone
lesson.
tell Joel. Sorry, that's a Last of Us joke.
Ultimate dad. Don't. Now he hasn't seen it then. Nani, you haven't played the game, right?
No.
Okay. Neither have I. So like I have, you know, I'm coming in like a virgin into this show. So
I played it.
I know
played
nothing.
it on a PS3, so it's been a hot minute. But I do remember that the end made me very sad, and I thought about it for
don't.
I don't remember.
I don't want to be
sad.
I
just remember. pain.
Just remember sadness.
Yeah.
Were you sadder than episode 3? Because holy crap, episode 3.
Yes. Oh, you're not even close.
Oh Lord, stop.
Oh no.
Well, we're not going down that road.
That mountain.
We're not going down that road today because my mental health today is broken, so I don't need to shatter it.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Baby Grogu steps. Before we wrap up, we have to do the final segment. Responsible speculation. We already kind of did. We already did the
for next episode at least.
Deadpool,
but what do you think we're getting, you know, in the next couple of episodes? Or what you're expecting, what you want to see?
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go tinfoil hat theory.
Go.
I want Hondo Naka to find them.
It's interesting that you said that because I was watching Alex's review, Star Wars Explains review of the episode, and he did mention that at first when he saw the person that steals the Marauder, like, he thought it was Hondo.
The hair, the kind of mask, that style of helmet. I was like, I can tell that that's hair and that's not a Hondo Naka thing. So I was like, that's someone else. But like, I would love for that to have been like a stylistic teaser of like, this is the person who's gonna like come and rescue him. And Sid's in and around that network. It's not too it's not too out of the realm of possibility that she would know. If she knows who Fee is, she would probably know Hondo. And and then Hondo would know Jedi. So like if the Bad Batch start talking about the jobs they've been pulling, like Hondo would be like, oh yeah, like love those people. And like that could keep planting that seed for the Bad Batch of like, maybe we can help fight for good, ?
Yeah.
So someone like that, like coming in and rescuing them, which then makes them kind of regret asking to be dropped off at Ord Mantell and like starts kind of turning those gears.
Interesting. Okay, I
would
can
not
buy
be
that.
against that. I love Hondo.
I buy that for $1.
I love me some Hondo.
And Hondo would steal the last Ipsium, so he'd like drop him off at
of
Ord
course he
Mantell.
would.
Oh yeah.
And like,
Of
let's
course.
go to Sid's, and like they open the satchel, and it's like, oh,
100%. Interesting. It'll happen. But if it doesn't happen,
You're going.
we don't take it personal.
We're always
so it's responsible. We are. Actually, we should start keeping track of all of our theories so that we can actually see what our success rate is, because maybe we're cutting ourselves. I don't think we're cutting ourselves enough slack. I'm pretty sure we've been right about something.
Or it could be young Mando. Like if you want some real crossover synergy, he's got a Razor Crest. He got inducted in the Clone Wars. So like he's not old Mando, but he's certainly not young Mando anymore, because he got picked up while the Clone Wars was happening and inducted into the cult. So
interesting.
Just a Razor Crest drops by and's like, I got room for 4 people. Like hop on in. And
what if? Holy crap! Prepare, strap in, boys and girls, and our non-binary family, strap in. What if that's why there's gonna be like the overlap between Mando and Bad Batch, and because March 1st, Mandalorian season 3 comes out, and obviously there's gonna be a new episode of Bad Batch that day. What if that episode of the Bad Batch, bam, Din Djarin?
If that actually happens, if you actually just called this,
holy crap! if I called it, I deserve Star Wars crown. Like, get move over, Alex and Molly. Give me the crown of King. I'm king of Star Wars. If I call it,
Yeah. And like I could, we'll go one step further. I would love for young Mando to be telling Hunter, like Hunter's like, oh yeah, we're like taking care of Omega, and like young Mando being like, oh, sounds like a liability. Like just some kind of throwaway line.
I would never want to take care of kids.
No idea, sir.
Yeah.
I'm in love with the idea. Now I'm gonna be sad if it doesn't happen.
I mean, March 1's episode is called Metamorphosis. That's all I'm saying. So, like, if there's a chance for a crossover,
oh my god, what if it was Din Djarin that stole a ship?
young Din Djarin, and he sells that for a Razor Crest. I mean, first of all, bad move, but not the first time. Not the first time Mando has let.
Oh my lord! Valuable. Oh my lord! I can't. I gotta stop. I'm gonna go into.
We're too deep on the rabbit hole now. We're out here making quotes.
I think that was good though.
Yeah, Nani, rescue us. I can't.
I think we're done. I think let's leave it there and let's see what happens in the next couple of episodes. We have amazing things coming soon. So Andres, why don't you let us know where everybody can find you?
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So I am on Twitter for now, at AAA_.
I think that's everybody's attitude right now. On Twitter for now.
Yeah. AAA_photo G. We also have Sithty Minutes, which is our podcast anywhere where fine podcasts can be found. You can find us. And then we have Twitter and Hive. That is Sithty Minutes with no underscore or anything like that. Just the 2 words together. We cover Star Wars and politics. We started this year a little bit more Star Wars, but we're going to be leaning back onto our politics stuff. We had to wait for enough garbage stories to get our gears going, and it only took us until February, but we did it. So yeah,
We gotta talk about those UFOs because there's nothing else important happening in the country, right?
Yeah, don't mind the nitric acid. Just step around that. And the vinyl chloride and the anywho. Yeah, so you can find us on Hive or anywhere podcasts exist, and Twitter. And I have recently actually been writing for Cinelinx. I have a little series that is comparing Andor characters to the revolutionary kind of archetypes or stereotypes that exist in those types of movements.
Very cool.
My first one was about Deidre and white feminism, and my second one actually dropped today. That was about Cyril Karn and bootlickers. So very timely,
very appropriate,
very timely.
And we will obviously leave this links down in the description below so you can find all that stuff. And please definitely make sure you check it out. It's excellent content, and we should all support each other and like help elevate each other's voices, because a lot of good people saying good things deserve to be heard by everyone in all corners of the galaxy.
Very true. Well, Andres, thank you so much for joining us once again. This was so much fun. We will invite you back. Obviously, there's so much amazing content coming our way. So there's lots to talk about. It's going to be a good year, at least for, fandoms, not outside.
Yes.
But, in the books and on the screen. And that's it.
Yeah.
Don't look up. Yeah. Don't look up.
Actually, look up and
look up. Yeah.
And speak your voice. But anyway, we are Triad of the Force, and you can find us anywhere that podcast can be found. Just search Triad of the Force, and you will find us. We have the rest of Bad Batch to talk about. Mando's coming out in March. We have a really cool episode next week about Indiana Jones, because we love Star Wars, but there's other fan stuff that we love. So stay tuned.
Give him hell, Indiana Jones. Oh my God, it's going to be good.
And remember to always throw bricks at your local fascist. Until next time, we are Triad of the Force. May the Force be with you.